Hi, this is our group presentation about the four theories of press: the authoritarian, libertarian, social responsibility, and the communist. In this video, we'll explain each of them and give examples.
So the first theory is the authoritarian theory, which means that the government fully controls the media. They control what the population reads and hears through different media outlets. Moreover, the press is just an instrument to strengthen the ruler's power and to propagandize the government ideologies and action. The press also should do nothing to undermine vested power and interest. To make it more clear, for example, during World War II, Hitler, the dictator of Germany, and Mussolini, the dictator of Italy, they were using the authoritarian theory. They were over-controlling the media. No one was allowed to criticize them in the media, and the press, no one was allowed in the press to publish against them or question anything against them.
The theory that we will be discussing next is the libertarian theory. The libertarian theory is based on libertarian thoughts in the 16th century in Europe. The libertarian theory assumes that people are rational and that they are responsible for their own judgment. The libertarian theory is basically an opposition to the authoritarian theory, meaning that it asks for the complete freedom of the media and the press, such that the press would be able to publish freely whatever content they wish they publish. The libertarian theory asks for the complete freedom of the media and thus the freedom of speech, as they are both dependent on each other. It does not allow for a restriction of the content and does not in any way tolerate any interference from the government, for example, controlling the media or censoring, and that is what it basically asks for. Countries that follow this theory are for example, the Netherlands, as well as Finland, which was in fact in 2011 recognized as the freest press in the world, and to some extent Hungary.
What is the communist theory of press, also known as the Soviet media theory? The communist theory of mass media was developed in the 19th century by George W. Hegel and Karl Marx. Its main goal was to implement social policies through mass media. The main features included that the media was owned by the state, so media was a governmental instrument through which they transmitted their propagandas. The criticism to communist ideologies was taken as a crime, so nobody criticized the media. One of the reasons why that was implemented is to not let the information get manipulated by private media houses. Some of the drawbacks of this theory was that the media cannot play the role of a watchdog, and leaders were always portrayed as the greatest, and citizens are not given importance. The lack of government criticism limits the chances of improvement. Countries that follow this theory nowadays include China, Cuba, and Vietnam.
Lastly, we have the social responsibility theory. This theory is not much different than the libertarian theory in terms of freedom of speech and freedom of expression and the lack of interference from the government. But as the word already says, social responsibility in terms of cultural and political aspects must be considered when people appear in mass media as well as social media. This means media should be self-regulated, and people who do appear in mass media like national television or other forms of media are usually well-trained and professional. There is some sort of censorship, and a great country for this would be Germany, for example, or generally European countries are relatively liberal.
The four theories can be summarized as the libertarian, which is hard to exist nowadays. The authoritarian is when the press and the media are fully controlled by the government. The communists is when the government monitors everything the population receives from the media. The social responsibility is which asks for complete freedom, which is hard to achieve nowadays.